And here we are. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fabulous day. How are you, Lori?
I'm good, thank you. How are you today?
I am fine. And who's this special gentleman we have with us? Oh,
That guy?
That guy is
That guy.
our good friend, Jeff Campbell.
Good morning.
And we have to save all of this juicy goodness.
Yeah, all of the logistical stuff is a little distracting in the beginning. So good morning. Let's start over.
Start over again. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee Compliance and Campbell.
Oh, somebody's had their caffeine, haven't they, Lisa?
Of course we have.
He has.
Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you, Jeff. And why don't you tell us who you are and what you do and where you do it?
Yes, I will, and I'll leave it specifically to real estate. How's that? Here we are, 34 years in the real estate biz in SoCal. San Diego County is my domain, and I'm second gen real estate. My pop was real estate. I was that nerdy kid at the age 14. I could read an amortization book and amortize a loan. It did me, it didn't do me any good in high school because nobody cared, and my friends didn't care about it.
You didn't get prom date out of that talent?
No, as a matter of fact, quite the opposite. Kind of steer clear of that guy.
Oh.
And my career evolved through title and escrow, casualty insurance, and real estate sales. And now I'm a broker, and I have 2 offices and 15 wonderful people that I get to work with. Yeah. So I'm a nano broker. That's the term I'll use.
A nano broker?
Yeah, like real small.
Oh.
Yeah. Small in size, but large in heart. How's that?
That works, but I think 15 agents qualifies as bigger than a nano broker. I mean, a nano broker, then it would be shop of one.
I kind of think of it as breweries where you've got the nano brewer and then the mini and the micro and then kind of going on up. I'm just making this stuff up.
I was going to say, is this a San Diego thing?
Yeah, I've not heard
it's a Jeff thing.
Well, but Jeff, how do we all know each other?
Because we share coffee cups with each other, and that's how we know each other.
Ooh, I like that cup.
Yeah.
Nice
My
cup.
golly, have you ever seen this cup before? It's super cool.
Yes.
We need to get you one of these. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my golly. Only if you sign it. Yes, that'll be nice. So how do we know each other? We know each other through CAR, is I think where we first met, the California Association of Realtors, as directors. And I think that's the beautiful 2-wheeled segue into today's talk, I guess, right?
I'd say so. Don't you think so, Lori?
Yep, definitely.
Exactly.
Leadership, servitude, volunteerism, and all those wonderful things that independent contractors and business people find themselves involved with to a greater or lesser extent, I suppose.
Exactly.
I know the 2 of you are knee deep in it.
That's right. In fact, that's how Lori and I met. But it's not through
Really?
CAR, but was from volunteer leadership within our local association. And then we traveled on planes together a lot for CAR and NAR. And here we are today with our I'm going to call it boutique brokerage. We're not a nano brokerage. It makes it sound too small. You can't see us. You can see us. We're small but mighty.
There you go. I used to go by boutique brokerage, but I never did anybody's hair, so I left that.
Well, you need to diversify, Jeff.
Work. So we don't you love how brokerages identify or create culture amongst themselves? And we kind of went with concierge brokerage. And I think that's something that all the caring realtors and brokers practice anyway, right? So yeah, suffice to say, if somebody hires the two of you, they're in good hands. And so many other people up and down the state and across the nation.
Well, and I think, oh, sorry, Lori, go
I was
ahead.
going to say, well, thank you. And we have referred a client to you who you provided stellar service to. So we will say the same about you.
Yay. Yeah.
And we can talk more about that wonderful perk of leadership later on, because I think, the discussion today, I think Jeff and I talked about this after last week, and I'm not quite sure how it came up, but we started talking about leadership and this time of year, how important it is to be a leader, what type of leaders. The term servant leadership gets bantied about all over the place, and what the heck is servant leadership, and the different kinds of leadership that are out there, and how it can help you and how it can help your customers. And, I think we've got some good roots for a good conversation. Jeff is a leader extraordinaire, in my opinion. That was how I met Jeff. He's been on like the state executive committee numerous times. And what's your title this year at the state, Jeff?
I have the jester crown this year. And
we have the jester crown every year. So what's the title?
Okay, good point. No, I've only been on exec once, but you know what? That was such an honor. And when I say only once, I mean, just if you get to do it, if you get to be in any level of leadership, it really doesn't matter what. It's a privilege. It's an honor. This year, I'm happy to serve as one of the liaisons, and again, an extraordinary privilege. And I'm so looking forward to it. I was thinking about this too, Lisa, because you're really good with that electronic cattle prod. You can get people moving and going, and you've used it on me many times. And it's the prod of thinking, get you thinking. They got me to thinking. There are two types of leaders: born leaders and then developed leaders. And even born leaders have to go through a development process, I suppose. But you can be a leader from the back of the room. You don't have to be on the dais, or you don't have to be at the lectern. And I think it all starts with a state of mind. Not are you going to go out and tell people when the meeting's over and when it begins and drop the gavel kind of thing. I think oftentimes it is just as important when you're consoling a friend and really kind of taking somebody to a different place. I think that's a hallmark of accomplishment in the leadership world. And it could be one person, it can be many people, it could be a great distance, or it could be a short distance. Are you willing to put it out there and help somebody? And I guess that's kind of a non-Merriam-Webster definition. Mine anyway.
No, I think that's really a good point. Lori, what's your definition?
Well, I agree with everything that Jeff said. I think that was very well said. And my take on it is that I don't particularly like to put labels on things. I think people tend to put labels on their behaviors for their own benefit, whether it's a good behavior or a bad behavior. And so when I think about leadership, I agree. You can lead from the back of the room without calling yourself a leader. It's being able to demonstrate leadership capabilities and skills without necessarily standing there saying, I'm the leader. So, I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I hear the word servant leadership all the time, and it just really bugs me. Because if you truly are a leader, you don't go around telling everybody you're a leader. You just lead. It's not always about what you're doing. It's also about how you're doing it. And so if you are doing good work, you are demonstrating leadership. If you're walking around saying, look at me, I'm leading, or I joined leadership, and then I question, your motivations. And when we look at servant leadership, it's doing it from your heart because you know it's the right thing to do. You want to be part of something, you want to contribute to something, and you look at the whole, you look at the team. We are doing this together, not I am doing this. So I first heard the term servant leadership back in 2010 when I was going to Azusa Pacific University. And in the course, you know, we were talking about servant leadership, and I had not heard that term. And it's been around for a while, but it's something that was adopted in the working world, you know, in the early 2000s. And it suddenly became a buzzword. Just, it felt like it became a buzzword overnight. And again, it's not about labeling something, it's about just doing something. And so organizations that adopt this philosophy, the philosophy of we're going to be a company that's servant leaders. We only have servant leadership. Okay, great. It's great that you're looking at who you're hiring and you want them to demonstrate certain competencies and certain characteristics. But I begin to lose faith in it when you start to promote an organization as, you know, a servant leader, because a servant leader wouldn't say they're a servant leader, in my opinion.
No, I agree wholeheartedly, because I had the same exact feelings about it. And, you know, because I kept hearing people saying, well, I'm a servant leader. And it's like, well, as opposed to what? And, you know, so before we had this talk, you know, I said, I'm going to go Google servant leader, be sure I know what the heck I'm talking about. And it was interesting because they had a diagram come up of two pyramids, where one was your regular pyramid with, you know, the leader saying, I'm on the top and you're going to do what I say and blah, 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 and it trickles down, versus the inverted pyramid for servant leadership, which is, it's about the we, it's about our clients, it's about us all moving forward together. You know, it really kind of struck me, because whenever I heard the term, I'm a servant leader, that's really not, it's really not what was being implied. It was like, look at me, I'm a leader that's here to serve. And it's like, to serve who? Serve yourself? You know, and I think you really have to be careful with, number one, you shouldn't be labeling yourself. You know, one thing that always, you know, kills me is like, well, you're in leadership. And it's like, no, I've just been tasked with being the point person for a group. It's the groups doing the work, you know, but you always have to have kind of one point person. And if you find out, you know, that this is something you excel at or you do good, you put yourself out there a little bit more to be that point person, which takes a certain amount of bravery to a certain extent. You know, when are you willing to actually take that responsibility, versus a lot of people that say, well, I'm a leader. And it's like, well, what have you done? Tell me, what have you done? And
I have a thought. Okay, so speaking of labeling, when you get a hard blue badge at CAR, does that label you?
mm-hmm.
But we shouldn't be labeling ourselves. And right now, I'm kind of taking that prod that you always use on me, Lisa, and I'm kind of like poking it back. And I'll tell you what I think about it, because it's a treasure to be recognized. And it's okay to seek out such recognition if it's for the right reason. You see, what I believe is that if we're able to show others that we have accomplished something, climbed a hill, hit the peak, then you too can do it. And so I think of that when I think of a new person who comes on Ledge Day or comes to CAR, NAR, and finds that they really dig it, and then has aspirations to continue on. And we really want people who continue on to continue on and grow, not just be a person in the seat, right? You know, to be involved and that sort of thing. I think of a general who has all these ribbons, on their chest, and they wear them first and foremost because it's mandated that they be in uniform and proper uniform. And to me, there's an element that is doesn't tell you if you have a blue badge who to respect, but what to expect. All right, there's a person that might have an answer. There's a person that might tell me that the room is down the hall and to the right, and that sort of thing. So
yeah, I mean, I agree with that. It's a way to identify people, and with the example of the general, where I see the difference is the general has earned those honors and has received those honors from someone else who said, here, you've earned this, wear this with pride, versus I went out and I bought the badges and I put them on myself because I want to look important. That's where I think the difference is. I think you do need to be able to identify who's who in the room, and certainly there's always going to be someone in charge, and hopefully they've earned that. They've influenced enough people that they said, we want you, we want to follow you. And that's why I still believe that it's okay to have those desires to grow and to move up in leadership. But I think that you have to have the support of your peers and the people around you that you're truly serving in order to earn that. And if you just simply go in and demand it, and believe me, in my career, I've worked with a lot of people like that, where you can tell the difference. They come in and they just expect to be respected, and they are not servant leaders. And yet they too will call themselves servant leaders. And it's interesting when we look at volunteer organizations versus companies, because in the corporate world, I don't think any people I worked with ever walked around saying we were a servant leader, because we were employees, we were getting paid. So there's less of that label in the employment side of life. You certainly have leaders, and you know who's in charge, and you certainly have people who more privately will say, well, I do this because I'm a servant leader. Well, you also do it for the paycheck too. So there is a difference, where I think I found it more prevalent in our volunteerism, because people are serving, and people constantly say, like we're in the military or something, thank you for your service. I mean, it doesn't compare. It really doesn't. And I would doubt that anybody who has served in the military would say, I'm a servant leader because I served in the military. Like they don't use that term. I don't think they use that term. I wouldn't expect them to.
That makes me think about the bridge of ego here. And I've long spoken about big egos, and big egos actually are okay. We're surrounded by big egos. Small egos are okay, as long as it's a healthy ego, because you can have an unhealthy small ego, you can have an unhealthy big ego. But I don't care what kind of ego you have, as long as you're a cool cat and giving and loving, make your hair real big, I'm okay, whatever, all that stuff. So I agree with you, Lori. That's a good point. And there's also a difference in a volunteer. Well, like you were saying, a volunteer organization versus getting paid. I think expectations sometimes maybe are different. I don't know. What do you think, Lisa?
Well, no, I think that anybody who puts themselves out to volunteer in whatever capacity at whatever organization, there's a reason why you do it. And there's numerous reasons why. One, you want to help make this little corner of the world a better place, or you want to help your profession develop and become a better profession. You want to do it because you're craving recognition. You want to do it for whatever reason. We all have our own reasons for doing things. Just having the right reason and realizing that any leadership position should be a servant leadership position because you're serving your organization, you're serving the public, you're serving your community. And looking at yourself really as to why are you doing this? You know, I mean, I know my why with a lot of things that are basically stuff that has nothing to do with any organization. It was just like, you know, like the creation of this group. It was like, hey, I see a need. I'm not going to get paid for this, but I can help. I can help my profession and my industry be better for having a place to communicate. And did I do that to sit there and say, you know, hey, I'm head nerd? No, absolutely not. I saw a void, and stop that because Jeff, we know you're head nerd. You admitted so before this started. You know, I saw a void, and I'm like, you know what? I can step in and corralled Lori and said, Lori, you need to be here doing this, and getting out information that I was hoping could make our industry, especially during COVID. I mean, this started during the bowels of the COVID lockdown, when we weren't communicating, when we didn't know what was going on. We had the PPP and the this, that, and the other thing, and nobody really knew what was happening. And sometimes just stepping forward and saying, you know what, I'm going to take the risk. Either this is going to be helpful or it's going to be a huge flop, but you just try. And I think just trying, whether it's within an organization, whether it's, you know, saying, hey, well, you know, maybe I'll get involved in XYZ organization. You know, I hope they don't, you know, I'm going to fail or whatever. You don't know how you're going to do until you get in and just try. But you have to make sure it's not about you, that there's an end game out there that's bigger than you. I think that's healthy leadership, not necessarily servant leadership, because all leadership should be servant.
Can I ask you, the two of you, can I throw something out there? It's not going to stop me. I don't care what your answer is. So it goes like this. In servant leadership, can it be for yourself also? Can you get involved in that for your own reasons? Can you serve yourself also while doing this? Can you be one of the reasons you're in leadership?
I think it's a byproduct myself, and I'd love to hear what Lori has to say about this. I mean, I feel better as a human being knowing that I'm contributing to something bigger than myself, no matter how small that something is. Yeah, there's a certain amount of personal fulfillment you should be getting out of it. Otherwise, why are you doing it in the first place?
You know what? You're clairvoyant, Lisa, because I wanted to share something with you. And the term byproduct is in what I was going to share. You like hit the head on the nail. That was beautiful. I also did my little googly thing, and volunteering gives greater perspective and self-awareness. If I can read this quickly and then ask for your thoughts. It is possible you will come face to face with some pretty heart-wrenching or difficult situations in leadership. As a volunteer leader, you'll be expected to keep calm and positive in your demeanor. Dealing with these situations can make you question your perspective, not only on the choices you make, but even on the world and on your personal life. This can be a bit overwhelming sometimes, but developing a keener sense of self-awareness is an amazing transformation that many volunteers experience as a byproduct for themselves.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think that there's definitely value in being involved, and I think the people that get involved, they want to gain something, so they get involved in something. And you know, I was involved at CAR for a little while before I became a director. I would go to the trainings because I would want to learn. I would want to get to know the resources that we had from CAR. So before I was a director, I would go to the local, you know, expo and all the trainings. And so then I saw the value there. So I wanted to be part of that because I wanted to continue to learn. And becoming a director was something that was just, at our association, it was like, well, the next step, because you're a director here, is to be a director there. Okay, that makes sense. So I went. So yeah, I do believe that you can get involved in something and it be for yourself. But I agree that byproduct is the right word, because you're there to gain something, not necessarily to lead initially. If you walk in day one, I just get my license tomorrow and then I show up at CAR and say, I want to be president. Okay, that's self-serving. That's not quite how that's going to work. So I think it depends on your intention and your motivations. I certainly know a lot of people who participated in being a director and serving on committees for their next move, with the intention of, I'm going to climb this ladder and be somewhere someday. And what they fail to realize is, over time, people recognize that and they sort of start falling down the rungs of the ladder. So those people sort of weed themselves out. It's interesting. So I'll go back to when I was at Azusa Pacific. It's a Christian college. And so we had a lot of underlying, religious philosophies that we would talk about. And that was the context where I first learned about servant leadership, was in the context of religion and how Jesus served. And so that always stuck with me. Although I went to a Christian college, I'm not super religious. It was a great school and a great program. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, at about the same time that you started hearing about servant leadership, that's when the transition from management to leadership happened in all of the education. They used to have management programs, and then suddenly they were leadership programs. It's that same general time frame that all of the educators and philosophers were looking at this better way to work with people, to help people and work together. So, I don't need to talk about my leadership and my, whether I'm a servant leader or not. I just want to do the work. I just want to go do something. And so for me, that's just what I do. For others, they want to go ahead and say, well, I'm a servant leader. And so, yes, should all leadership be servant leadership? Yeah, the majority of it, nearly all of it, especially in volunteerism. But why do we even need to put a label on it? And
some of my favorite leaders are the people that are as comfortable climbing the ladder and working on any rung as they are holding the ladder.
Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to say that
someone
who wants to climb the ladder is self-serving, because I don't believe that. I do believe there are a lot of people who are influential and are followed, and then naturally they just move into those roles. And so I'm not trying to say at all, oh, if you aspire to any type of title, then you're selfish, because here I am just finishing up my presidential year at Orange County Realtors. So I would be a major hypocrite if that were the case.
Oh, and I think he has one of those cool plastic badges for next year too. In fact, I think all three of us have cool badges for next year.
What are you trying to say?
Well, I think that okay, this is going to sound a little self-serving, and I don't really mean it to be, but for me to finally get that badge meant a lot to me. Not that it was like, oh, look at me, I'm a leader. It was like, wow, okay, I've worked hard enough within this organization that I've been recognized, that I could be somebody that they could count on to shepherd a committee and do good work. And so for me, it's like, personally, it's kind of huge, because it was a bucket list item for me. There was two things that were, industry bucket list items, which was number one, be an NAR director, and two, to get a plastic badge at CAR. Oh. Now, I didn't have a timeline. I didn't say, this is my life's work. It's like, this would be really cool if this happened, and I'm super, super proud of the fact that I was able to achieve both of those things. And now it kind of says, okay, so now what's your next goal, Lisa? Now what are you going to do now? And it wasn't like I am the leader to end all leaders. It's just like, yeah, it's a really cool byproduct of years of hard work. And, I mean, decades of hard work trying to just make the world a little bit better and just have our profession elevated, to do whatever I can do to elevate our profession. We all work really hard being, real estate professionals. And I'd like to say everybody on this call that's a licensee is a realtor. Getting the word out that we take this profession seriously is the reason why I do it. I want our profession elevated. And, hopefully that's why all of us are doing these things, to make the real estate world a little bit of a better place to be.
Well, congratulations. I think you're a natural and will serve all of us well. So I have another question to throw out to the two of you. And in leadership appointments, what percentage is based on accomplishment and what percentage is based on connectivity?
I think it depends on the organization, the role.
Let's use CAR as an example.
I think a lot of it is, it's interesting because I think a lot of it has to do with the leadership that's in place at the time.
Right,
we've been
of
seeing
course.
an evolution the past year or so where people that are being asked to chair and vice chair and be on different committees are a different bunch, because it used to almost be kind of like, how did this person get that position? Weren't they in this position last year? And and we're not seeing that. I think we're seeing a little bit more recognition of people that leadership says, you know what, I think this person's been doing a good job.
So you're 50-50?
I'm 50-50. I think it depends on the leader in the leadership team at the time and what their needs are.
What about you, Lori?
Well, what their needs are and the decision that needs to be made. Yeah, I don't have a percentage to throw out there.
Okay, fair enough.
I kind of identify the connectivity with the relationships, and I define the relationships as meeting someone, building the rapport, and then just staying in touch to the point that you're constantly seeing each other's work that is being done. That's the kind of relationship I'm thinking. Not necessarily we're friends, we go have beer. It's, we see each other at events, so we both show up and they see the work that you're doing, and so you've built that relationship. Like I would say I was really privileged this year in that, I was able to reach out to Leslie Appleton Young and say, hey, would you install me at my installation? Because I built that relationship with her. Could the office have called her and said, hey, we have an incoming president who would like to have you, be part of the ceremony? She probably would have said yes, but I was able to personally reach out to her because of the relationship. So not necessarily, if that makes sense. I think that you can have like superficial relationships, and then those are the ones that, once again, like people that you wonder, how did they get involved? Well, they just keep popping up on the radar and they look popular, so they must be doing good work. But I think a true relationship and that true connection would prove, no, they actually do good work, or they're just there for the popularity contest.
I think of
in my head. I don't know if it makes sense.
No, you know what? The fact that we're bold enough to talk about this in this forum is something I used to wonder about. And if I did, maybe somebody else wondered about it. I think that electricity is no good if it's in a battery that's not plugged in. I get the rainy day idea, but electricity is meant to flow, and that's what I think of when I think of connectivity. I think both are really important, and genuine and sincere and real connectivity, deeper connectivity.
Versus
I
maybe
think-
like what I'm thinking of in like politics, where it's like, okay, I'm in charge, and my second cousin removed is going to get this high appointment because we're connected. That's kind of the comparison I was thinking of.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think though that those who may aspire to be involved in leadership in any organization, staying connected is key, so key. And accomplishments speak for themselves. I did a talk recently about winning awards. I'll go off on another branch here for a second. And let me ask the two of you, have the two of you ever won a trophy or a plaque?
Yes.
Well, as we wait 2
Mike's
hours
got
while she
an arms
picks out all of
race,
her
but-
trophies. All right.
I wanted Lori to know that I have this prominently
Oh,
displayed.
okay, that one you can show, yes.
Okay, this one I can show.
Congratulations. Ooh,
Thank you.
that looks fancy. Have either of you ever taken one of your trophies or plaques on a listing presentation? Well, wait, never? Never? I mean, it's a
Too
big
heavy.
deal.
It doesn't fit in my little
It's
purse.
too heavy. It doesn't fit in your listing portfolio.
No,
Okay.
no, I would not do that.
Right. So, I was thinking of this, people strive to, get these awards and so on and so forth. And that is a coveted award that you won, Lisa, that will be there for probably a year at the most in its current spot. You may move it around,
No. This
Okay,
is
2
from
years.
A very special person that awarded this award.
Oh, okay. All right. I ascend to all the ingratiating things that you're going to say about it, but you'll move it depending on the vibe in your room and all that sort of thing.
That was last week's conversation. Sorry.
And I'll never forget, I went into a realtor's office, and there's nothing wrong with this. It just made me smile. And oh my gosh, their office, you could not see the gypsum board. You couldn't see the drywall because the plaques are just like all together and all around and everything. And I've won one or two over the years, and I appreciated them so much, and so did the recycler, because because I want them to be repurposed for another award for somebody who deserves it. That's my thinking. Altruism. We'll get there in a minute, but anyway, so that just makes me smile that Lisa, this is perfect. It reminds you of you didn't tell me what it was, by the way. You didn't tell the audience what it was that was important to you. What you said was the person who gave it to you was the important part. And that's cool. I like that. So next meeting, tell us what it was for.
We'll leave you all guessing. Come back next week to find out what Lisa's award was.
Right.
That was last week's meeting. It was last week's meeting.
Yeah, that's right. You go for the replay.
Oh.
For the replay.
Oh, I'm supposed to feign that I watch every one of your meetings. I mean, I do a lot, or some, or quite a few. I don't know.
Don't-
Okay, you missed it. We just don't need to rehash it, because I went somewhere and they're like, "Oh, love the Love Fest today or yesterday," and I'm like, "Okay, I think
Oh,
we're
yeah.
overboard." We went a little overboard.
Yeah, we did. We were just
Okay.
still riding the high,
The two of you went overboard for the first time ever.
Oh, yeah.
It happens once in a while.
Once in a while.
You know who you're talking to, right? But that's not why you do the things you do. It's one of those byproducts. I'm not sitting around saying I need more stuff on my desk. I mean, I've got way more books on my desk than I do awards on my desk. I'm not sitting here looking to fill that up, but hey, every now and then there's this term that a friend of ours, Deborah Trapin, uses is, you got to fill your soul tank. And every now and then it's kind of good to get that little pat on the back, to get that little recognition, kind of fill up your soul tank and say, you know what, I can go out here and I can go do more work. I can go do more good work, And so I think that that's part of that byproduct. You can't say that, you don't enjoy the recognition, or else you wouldn't be putting yourself out here in the first place, you know.
Right.
But you don't do it for the recognition. If it happens, hey, that's really cool. Moving on, now what can I do better? I've already hit that little personal, you know, hey, I did this and this is really cool and people noticed. Okay, so now what can I do? And I think you use it as a motivation, not as an end all to end all. You know, like I mentioned, the 2 bucket list items. I got some new stuff on the bucket list. Not quite sure. I mean, actually, there's some things I don't even really know what it is that I have down on my future bucket list, you know, because every day my time to do the bucket list is getting shorter and shorter. I have to really prioritize. What do I want to do? How am I going to do it? You know, who am I going to rally to do it with me? And I think that that's really the, you know, the important thing is, hey, you hit your goal of doing something cool, doing something for other people, not for yourself, and then say, okay, now what can I do? Who else can I help? How else can I improve things?
Hey, I have another thing that I found on leadership, if I could share it with you,
Go right ahead.
or in volunteerism. I guess volunteerism and well, they are 2 different categories, aren't they? Volunteerism and then leadership.
Yeah, but I think like in our industry, like when we're at our association, whether it's local, state, or national, everybody is put in that leadership bucket because we are there where others are not. So it's like you're leaders in that way. But again, I don't necessarily think that not everybody is a leader.
Well, so to tie the 2 together, quite often voluntary experiences for me have grown my confidence in my leadership capabilities. I'm able to, in volunteering, practice and explore my capabilities that I might not get to practice otherwise in the routine of what I do. So it takes me outside the scope of the normal things when I'm volunteering, whether it's in my industry or outside my industry. I saw one quote that was really interesting. Voluntary work helps keep energized, helps one grow professionally, and helps them build their confidence in communication, whether or not they have a mic. Could be in the hallway, could be elsewhere. And that helps you develop yourself. And whether you develop to such a degree that you're able to take your business to a next level, your personal relationships to a next level, I think it's great to meet other people who are passionate. Because if I stay within my circle, I kind of know everybody in my circle. You know, I want to meet other people that have an appetite, maybe even more than I do, for developing their skills, as an example. And it's great to meet people who've walked a path that I haven't yet walked. They're going to tell me where the rocks are, hopefully, if I am connected to them. They'll tell me where I need a rope and that sort of thing. You know, it kind of gives me an opportunity to look upstream, to anticipate what's coming. And, I think about that. I think about why I got involved in industry volunteering in the first place. You know, we're largely outside of the DRE, a self-policing group, an association. I'm involved in governmental affairs this year. I don't like governmental affairs. I don't like it. I'm not a wonk. However, I know it's a must. I know I have to pay attention. You know, how deep I want to get into it, I have to pay attention to that. So it's important for my industry and my clients if I believe in zoning and home ownership and all that good fun stuff. So those are reasons why that I value being involved.
No, and I think that's excellent for kind of segueing into why, a lot of people will say, well, why do you do this? You take up all this time, all of your time's taken up doing all of this stuff. And it's like, well, no, if I'm busy, that makes me busier. In fact, we always joke about, well, I'm getting ready to leave town for a meeting. I guess that means I'm going to get a listing. And usually it does. But there's something about being busy outside of just sitting here saying, oh my God, how am I going to get my next lead? How am I going to do this? Oh my gosh, I don't have any business. When you have things to keep you mentally stimulated beyond just your job, getting outside just that little bubble within your office, or, hey, we've all been sitting here working from home for who knows how long, having something else going on to keep you mentally stimulated, to broaden your horizons, to meet people that can benefit you and your clients and your company in ways that you never even thought of. The one cool thing is, who my best friends are? Literally my best friends are CAR directors, because we're all cut from the same cloth. We all have relatively the same value system. We're all willing to see beyond our little window of the real estate world, that there's more going on out there, whether it be in the MLS realm, whether it's in the policy realm, the political realm, the communications realm, the fair housing realm. There's so many different diverse areas within just the real estate community, that if you're just hiding out in your office, you don't know what's going on. You're being reactive instead of being proactive and having a seat at the table, making decisions, helping us be better. But, that is the cool thing about CAR and NAR to a lesser extent, because that's just this big, huge behemoth animal that, you meet people, but not like, CAR is just a great place to meet people that are on the same wavelength as you, learn about things that you're not going to really learn about in other spots, and be in a position where you can actually have your voice heard and make a change.
I almost wanted to break out with Michael Jackson and make a change, but I didn't.
No,
I didn't.
You should have.
Okay, check this out. Well, that's the way it goes. My sign got stolen today. Oh, well, that's the way it goes. I tripped and sprained my ankle going to my open house. And when I say that's the way it goes, I might evoke the phrase, that's the cost of doing business. And to me, I identify heartache whenever I hear that. Well, that's the cost of doing business. I got my hair caught in the door. Oh, and it pulled it out, and I had to go to this doesn't apply to me, obviously. However, I'm just pulling stuff out of my golf bag at this point. But
where are you going with this story? Trying to pick up what you're laying down.
Yeah, all right. Well, keep your baseball glove on, because the ground ball's not to you yet. Okay. So, I got to write a check. I got to write a check that I didn't anticipate. It's the cost of doing business. How about the cost of loving business? I'm involved. That's the cost of loving my business.
Yeah.
I am a volunteer. That's the cost of loving my business. Yes, it takes time. Yes, I could be doing something else, but I can't tell you how many listings and sales I've begun or almost consummated. I have to have somebody else help me at business meetings. All right. It doesn't stop me from doing business. But let's think more about the cost of loving business. What am I exchanging dollars for donuts for in order to dig what I do? Just a different perspective, I guess.
That's a great perspective.
Yeah. Next time somebody says cost of doing business, oh, okay, there's some heartache, and quit focusing on that.
Yeah, honestly, when I do my personal business plan, I always incorporate education. And so that's in my time, that's in my budget, so that I can do education to improve myself as a professional in our business. And then
Which you love.
Which I love. And there
Okay,
are other
cost of
things
loving
that I
business.
include, yeah, but I never thought to call it that or to label it that way. Because I don't label things, but I never thought to, to give it that phrase, because usually when you hear the cost of doing business, I mean, sadly, the first thing that came to my mind was an agent that I knew many years ago who kept getting MLS violations and just said, oh, it's cost of doing business. No, he was a terrible agent who did not want to follow the rules. And he saw that to his benefit. He was making so much money that was just a minor cost to his doing business, so he could get away with what he was doing. So I always think of that scenario when I hear the cost of doing business versus other things. And I do consider some of what you described, where we're looking at what we're doing as an investment. I always tell others, invest in your industry, invest in yourself. That's how I look at it.
The two of you do this show because you love it. You don't have to. And you could be doing something else, but it's the cost of love. It's the cost of loving this business. And you had to bring up MLS violation because I'm pissed because I got one. And I got to pay $250 before the end of the year. And oh my gosh, it was all my fault. I went from coming soon to we never hit the market, and the two were, they were fighting, and it was there's all kinds of craziness with the homeowners, and so I just went directly to withdrawn, and it's kind of never put the picture in. They kind of want a photo, and so.
But it's interesting that let's talk about the whole coming soon thing. People are like, oh my God.
I hate coming soon, and I don't do it, but they kept on saying, we'll go on the market tomorrow, we'll go on the market tomorrow, we'll go on the market tomorrow, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, at the time I thought it was great. Now I'm not such a fan, but
Right.
So what happens if you don't like it? You can sit and complain, or you can get involved and do something.
I'm not even going to dispute it. It was my fault.
No. I'm talking about volunteering in general in our business. How many people sit back and just say, I think this is just a hot mess and they shouldn't do this and that and the other thing. When it's like, you don't like it. You think that that there's people in the little ivory tower making decisions. And no, it's us making decisions.
I know.
It's the volunteer leaders, volunteer committee members, like I say, volunteer leaders, when it's just people saying, you know what, if you don't like the way something is, there's one way to fix it. Get involved.
Oh, that's heavy. Hey, do either of you do any charity work?
I sadly this year, I have to admit, I have not been as altruistic as I would like to be. But over the years, I try to be involved. And I think one thing that I definitely want to get across is I do the things for my community and for charities to help the community and the charities, not me. I never go into it saying, hi, I'm Lisa Dunn, Realtor. I'm here to help you. It's just like, hi, how can I help you? And maybe I'll wear a realtor shirt. I don't throw it in their face. I don't grind it in, which is, I think, something that many, many, many people in this profession make the mistake of doing.
Let's talk about that because I'm watching the time clock. I see we got a couple minutes left. Real briefly, so I am involved in giftbagdrivesandiego.com, and I've been doing it for 22 years, just raising food for church pantries and toys for the fire and sheriff's department, that sort of thing. And I've learned a couple of things in charity. And by the way, Lisa, you do quite a bit of charity, which is defined as giving back. And this show is one of them for all of us realtors who get a lot out of it. And then I know you go to people's installations and that sort of thing, which is supporting other people. So you did spend a year supporting others. So we'll just
thank you. I never really thought about that.
That's why you have
organized charity or organized community events. So
give back. You're a give backer, and I'm sure you have all year long in lots of ways. So a couple of things I learned about being involved in charity is that there are two types of giving. There's the giving that nobody knows that we do. You know, it's just private, whether we write a check, whether we drop off something or help somebody or whatever. It's just between us and God and the other person. And that's it. Those are the only people or entities or anything that knows about it. Then there's public giving. And I am a guy who puts my real estate on that side of charity. And the reason is because, number one, there are a couple of reasons. Number one is to show others that they should be doing the same, show others that it's easy. You know, let me show you that I'm giving and you too can do it. My God, if I can do it, you can do it, kind of thing. And then the other is that, yes, I want the community to choose people in their lives that they do business with who are, there's a bit more to them and that they reinvest in their community. So those are a couple thoughts that I have. And then something else I learned about through charity is the term poly-win. We've all heard the term win-win. Hey, let's create a win-win situation. Hey, well, what about a win-win-win-win-win-win-win situation? Like when you do a real estate transaction, how many service providers get a win? You know, actually, there's a lot of it. It's a poly-win. So let's go through life creating poly-wins when we can. And then the last thing was that, you know, good people is, maybe this is a seasonal kind of thing for this time of year, but good people count their blessings. Exceptional people share their blessings. So let's try to be one of those people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, it's been fun.
Well, you know, and let's not run away yet. We still got 3 minutes, and we don't have that hard stop unless you really do.
Here I am, just.
No, I think it's really super important because, like, you're putting out some really great videos of you going around the community. I love the one of you in the coffee shop, you know, but it's not like, hi, I'm Jeff Campbell, real estate professional here, and I'm giving back to you, community, you know, which is where a lot of people make that mistake. You know, I mean, you can tell by your videos, Jeff, that you absolutely love what you're doing to help your community. You know,
Which one did you see?
The last one you put on my, you know, if anybody wants to see him, go see my Facebook page. The one where you're at the coffee place and you're trying to make the latte and steam's flying all over the place. You know, but I mean, that's really cute. You're showcasing another local business for a good cause. And it's not all about Jeff doing, you know, charity stuff. It's fun, it's engaging, it provides goodwill. You know, everybody who sees it, I'm sure, is, you know, saying, hey, that's really cool. And there's ways to do it. And I think, you know, I've seen all kinds, especially on social media, you know, where people are more about like, hey, look at me, I just did this, versus, you know what, hey, why don't we all go do this together and make your community a better place, which is exactly what I'm seeing you doing, Jeff. So kudos to you for all of the good work and for as long as you've been doing it. That's really amazing stuff for your community.
Thank you. It's fun. So you didn't see the videos before, thankfully, because what I do is I put bins out at businesses and, you know, collect some food and toys and then we distribute it. And so what I've done is I've gone to other businesses. This afternoon, I'm going to the local Mexican restaurant. And I'm going to be cooking in the back. So what I do is I wear the apparel of whatever the company is. And the owner sees that I'm screwing up and they take over. And then they get some airtime and blah, blah, blah. So I was doing it 2 years ago at the hair salon. And just so happened that the owner of the automobile repair shop was there getting his hair done, and he was laying back in the sink and getting it washed. And I knew him, so I asked the hair salon's owner, can I go wash his hair? And so she puts these big black rubber gloves and the apron and everything, and I get back, and so I start washing his hair, and his eyes roll back, and I was doing a really good job, you know, and everything. So then I started speaking and he opened his eyes and said, what? And saw me and he started laughing. Anyway, but then, I let the store kind of take the light and, hey, come in our store and visit us and da 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 da. So we have to have some smiles in life when we go through some of this stuff. And so, volunteer for things that bring a smile to you.
Exactly. And, and it's cool because your clients see you differently too.
Like my clients see me as a knucklehead and they hire the other people.
Oh, don't say that. And that's the other thing we really didn't touch on too terribly much about, part of the good reasons for volunteering within our profession is, a lot of places, a lot of companies are like, well, we have a network of agents across the country or across the state that we can hook you up with. And so you're going through a little book or scrolling online and you don't know the person from Adam. You don't know who they are, what they are, other than it's a name in an area that you need somebody. And
right.
Within being involved in CAR, and I'm sure, even on an NAR national level, we have one of the best networks around, a complete informal network that we can say, hey, I'm looking for somebody here. And boom, boom, boom. You've got people either throwing a name out or people saying, I work this area. And these are people that and people that you can trust, because going back to that, my best friends are CAR directors. I know these people. So when I referred somebody to San Diego, who did I think of? Thought of Jeff. And Jeff did an absolutely amazing job for this client that, I just kind of sat back.
Is that a heart?
No, it is.
Or is that more of a kidney? I can't tell.
No, but
I don't know.
Kidney. But and it was great to because I went down there for the listing appointment. I wanted to be sure that the parties knew each other and to kind of just sit back and watch the master at work, man. I'll tell you,
Lori,
I learned a lot.
I'm going to tell you, it is not easy doing a listing presentation with when another realtor sitting right there.
I believe you.
And,
that would be crazy.
She keeps looking over the top of her glasses and looking at the tip of her pen and taking notes. And I'm feeling like I'm being critiqued. And
I was learning from the master.
Knock it off. Thank you.
Oh, I'm dead.
I'm sending you a trophy. So anyway, doggone it.
Right here.
when I was brand new, I wanted to go on a listing appointment with somebody who was experienced and nobody would take me. I worked in 120 some agent office. And I said, I just want to go and listen, and nobody would take me. And to this day, I take brand new agents. I said, all right, I've got a listing appointment you're coming with. But it's hard. It's already, we already have a challenging marketplace to get listings, and then you're going to make it more challenging by having somebody come and they're critiquing you in their mind, for God's sake. Lisa kept giving me clues, move your hair, do something with you got like an eyebrow. She kept licking her finger in her eyebrows, making me to do it, telling me to do it. She's giving me all these crazy signals during this listing presentation, throwing me off like crazy.
Well, we already have in the comments, Olivia says, when can I go, Jeff?
Come on down. I'm going to tape your hands together so you don't do what Lisa did. Oh my golly. Lisa, that stuff wasn't even American Sign Language. I don't know what it was, but you just were motioning and this and that and the other and trying to make me read your lips. Don't forget. And then finally I stopped the listing presentation and put everything down, looked at Lisa, and I said, forget what?
Okay, everybody, I just want you to know it's all BS.
It's not BS.
But I am so happy that I know you, that I was able to entrust a client that was entrusted to me and put that client into good hands, which there's the upsides for business for this. There's, how does it help your clients? You know the best. you know the best, because the bulk of us at CAR are producing agents. We found ways to make our business work, even in our physical absence. We know that everybody's heart is, usually in the right place, and it benefits the clients in that realm. And also our knowledge that we gain, we all know more than the average bear, that's for sure. And to be able to convey that to our clients properly with the proper amount of confidence brings value to our clients that, that we have in the first place. Being able to explain Proposition 19 to somebody, being able to explain why we're fighting on the federal level for the SALT exemptions to be returned, knowing why, what happened to certain politicians that crossed the realtors, knowing why and how and what's going on is super vital to this business. And, I think it's one of the reasons why I enjoy doing what I do so much, is the people that I meet and the things that I learn that I can use to help my clients. And that's really my why.
Ditto. Well, hopefully people will have a better understanding of what we do at CAR. I mean, we talk about it all the time. And so hopefully, we can get more people to be inspired, to get involved, and for the betterment of our industry.
And we got some great comments going. So everybody's going to need to go back on through the Facebook comments. And Olivia's offering to do your hair, Jeff. But, I think that this was a great conversation. I certainly hope that everybody else did too. And people that don't have their plans for 2022 solidified yet, that maybe you consider getting involved at whatever level you're comfortable with, whether it's, seeing if there's something you can do at your local association. Our expo this year, isn't our expo in Long Beach in October?
Yeah, I think so.
Coming to the expo and get, seeing what goes on if you've never been to one. It was a shame that we didn't have, the NAR coming up again. I mean, NAR this year in San Diego was great. I know certain people down in San Diego I couldn't connect with and cross.
I know what happened.
I don't know what happened.
What's that all about?
Never saw you when we were in San Diego in your hometown.
He plans a party for a night that we're not there. He could have consulted.
Where is this going, people?
We didn't get to hang out with you, so we'll just have to make other plans. It's okay. We'll make other
Well, everybody's going to Monterey, right?
Well, everybody on this, I don't know, on our audience.
Yeah, we'll be in Monterey.
We're going to be in Monterey.
Okay.
On the bougie jet.
On the what?
We'll talk about that later.
A direct flight.
A direct flight.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
It's not going into San Jose. Okay.
Mm-mm.
We'll hook you up. We'll tell you where.
Oh no, I saw that jet on your Facebook page.
Yes, we're taking that.
One?
We're taking that jet again. Mm-hmm. But
wow.
It's not too late to make plans to get involved. And if everybody out there wants more information on this, feel free to reach out to any of us for information on just getting started or getting more involved, getting outside your little bubble, because there's a lot of life going on outside of your little bubble. And our bubbles keep expanding all the time, and we still need to see what's going on outside of those too.
This is such a weird bubble talk.
Everybody says we're in a bubble, right? We're bringing housing bubble a whole new definition.
I'm gonna do what I always do, Lisa, and I'm just gonna say yes to you. Yes.
Well, any other words to wrap up this magnificent little pre-holiday conversation? Well, it's holiday conversation.
Yeah, I want to thank the two of you. I get so much out of your take on the topics that you bring up. You still like me when I don't agree with you. I mostly do. And I appreciate you, both of you, taking the time to share with the rest of us, because we all benefit from this, and it does take an investment on your part. And I just want to thank you.
Thank you very much for such kind words.
Yeah, thank you.
They're
We
sincere.
appreciate the thoughtfulness. You always, even if you disagree, you're very thoughtful and respectful about it, but you also bring very thought-provoking questions too. So I know there was some you and I were talking about, I don't know, maybe a year or so ago, and we had different points of view on something, but I really got to understand your point of view by the way you positioned the questions to me. And this wasn't on Coffee and Compliance. This was just you and I think we were on Zoom one day.
Chopping it up or something.
Yeah. And so you always bring some really thought-provoking questions, makes me think. So I appreciate that very much.
I love that comment. I'm the one to thank you, but thank you. So you were very clear about what you just said, that you understood my perspective. You did not say you agreed with my perspective. And that is, I think, a really nice level to be at is, oh, you know what? I get you. You know, you're full of crap, but I get you. And I like that, you know.
Well, I can't remember what the topic was. So maybe at the end I did agree with you. I just don't remember.
Oh, I remember when this was.
Yes, I remember it happening, but I don't remember what we were talking about.
Lisa, did you just zip? I zipped.
No, I was
No,
thinking something.
no, I zipped and you bubbled. I get it.
Okay, we'll have to talk about this offline then.
No, we don't.
The debrief call.
No, we don't. Okay.
Well,
Oh my gosh.
I heard nothing. I saw nothing.
But it's okay that, I mean, honestly, what I said was accurate and valid. I understood your point of view, and sometimes we don't have to end up agreeing.
Right, exactly. And you know, don't you wish more people in the world got that? You know, all right, I don't need to push a point any further because you're not going to be on this side, but we get where we're coming from, and I'm going to like you anyway. Or even more, maybe. I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
point.
and it's interesting because this reminded me of something I saw. Leslie Appleton Young, who I guess she's going to be our name of the day today. She posted on Woman Up yesterday saying, "Argue like you're right and listen like you're wrong."
Nice.
And
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
It's good words to think about. And, you know, listening is so important. You know, I mean, you can be firm in your position, but, you know, like listening to Jeff when we disagreed about things, or I'm trying to figure out what the heck it is you're talking about, which actually happens much more often. It's, you know, you have to listen and you have to be open to what the person is saying. Because, you know, and I think that that's something super important in leadership, just to kind of circle back here, is, you know, you need to listen. It's not all about you. It's not all about your ideas. It's not all about your opinion. You need to listen and take into the consensus of the group, because you might think you're right. And you may be arguing like you're right, but you need to listen to find out if you are right.
Well said.
100%.
Okay, well, do we have anything left for the good of the group here today?
Yes, the new RPA starts tomorrow.
Ah,
Don't forget.
okay. The two of you are so joyous about it. I wonder if there's any other realtor that feels like this.
So look what I got.
I got
Lori
that
got
thing.
herself. Lori got herself an early Christmas present. Look at that. She's probably
Okay. I just have one word. Yucky. I have that book too. I went to the trainings and I like the new stuff. All right. I don't like change.
Oh, you're that guy.
I want to be so old school. I've got dust on me. I don't like change. I don't know what you said, but I'm sure it was funny to you. And doggone it.
She's laughing that you don't like
more.
change, but yeah,
I don't want any more new forms for the rest of my life.
It depends what the change is. I look at this one as positive change. I think
do
it's going to make
too.
everybody's lives easier. I think it's going to really help our clients. I think it's great. I was laughing about you being dusty.
So here's how I contract, just FYI. I feel so comfortable and so moderately well read on the current contracts, RPA, RLA, and everything in between, that I'll go through first read and just look for the change points. You know, how much do they want on a home warranty? How much down? I know, like, all the little points to look at, and now I'm going to have to read. Now I'm going to have to take my time. Now I'm going to have to look at every sentence, and this will take me probably 20 contracts to get to the point of where I am now, you know, with the comfort level of my new contract. And
You'll have it
so that's
knocked
why,
out by the end of January.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, you'll be fine. And think about this. It hasn't changed in 7 years. If we had incremental changes over those 7 years, it wouldn't be such a big change all at once, but they kept it the same. They kept it the same. And so now we've got a bigger learning curve. And, you know, you'll be able to look at the chart and find the info you need as quickly as you did before, but the nuances of some of the clauses, how they've been clarified is what you're referring to of you got to read it. And it'll take you probably not 20 contracts. You have a listing and you start reading through all the contracts, maybe you'll remember. You'll learn.
So did you just hear me whine and complain and get all pouty? Yeah. See, if I were to start a man up like group, it would just kind of like be old guys getting together, whining and pouting and crying about stuff.
So many things I could say right now.
I know, and that's for somebody else in another segment.
Okay, well, on that note, should we end this little love fest right now with Dusty Jeff Campbell?
Yes, I will now make a liver. Yes.
I'll make a lung. I don't know. Lori, what internal order?
Don't do it. Don't do it. Please.
Not gonna play.
Exactly.
Pancreas girl to me. I don't know.
It's too early on Monday to only have half a cup of coffee to try to play.
Oh yeah.
Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and end this. And I thank everybody for being here. And Jeff, we just love you.
Oh my gosh. Here, Merry Christmas. Let me get there. Am I kind of
thank you. Merry Christmas.
Yes.
Merry Christmas taco. You can't see it. I got taco and I got a piece of bacon on my tree. Piece of bacon right there.
Oh my God.
Mine says, believe in the magic of Christmas.
Oh, I have these Merry Christmas slacks, but that's for next time.
Okay.
All
right. I'm just got like this. I have to hurry and get to my next appointment because it's critical. So thank you all for joining us today. And Lori, are we going to be doing like a little Christmas party next week of some sort? A little nerdy Christmas party?
We'll do the Zoom like live with everybody. What do they call it?
We have a very nerdy holiday.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, thank you. We're going to bring this show to a close. 1, 2, 3. Thanks all for being here. Go out, happy holidays, and sell a house.
New RPA. Don't forget.